I think a reasonable place to start is to understand the role that a laser has in the server design and in the data center more broadly, how servers talk to one another, because the market reaction is quite clear to how investors feel about this, but where does the technology fit in?
Yeah, it's a good question. First of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Yeah, the way you can think about it is a laser is really, ultimately, it's photonics, and it's really about light, and it's about using light to transmit data in the data center. And there's a good portion of the data center already today where all of the communication of the data is happening with light. And the reason that light gets used rather than, for instance, an electrical signal is light is the absolute fastest, most power-efficient way to transmit data. And so a good portion of the data center already runs 100% on photonics, optical connections.
Right.
But as we move forward, building new data centers, as we see a massive ramp in the amount of data flowing through these data centers, more and more of the data center connections will be based on light, on optical photonics.
So in this arrangement, you'll take the funds for R&D purposes, but inside of it, there is a purchase opportunity for Nvidia. Nvidia's done a lot on silicon photonics. They've told me about it for quite a while now. What's new in it for them? What is it that they're able to now do that they couldn't do themselves?
Well, they're relying on us to bring the photonics expertise, right? So Nvidia for us has been a long-term partner, actually over 20 years as a customer and a partner through their Mellanox acquisition. So we've had a long history with Nvidia, and really what we're doing is working together to use photonics to advance the architecture of data centers, to find new innovation within data centers. And the key thing that photonics or optics brings is incredibly power-efficient data transmission because, again, there's no more
as opposed to transferring via electrons.
Exactly.
Right.
So as you increase the data rates, as you increase the amount of data that's being transmitted, you have to, if you're using electrical today, eventually you'll hit a physics limit and you'll be kind of forced to switch to optical. And so we'll see more and more of the connections within the data center move to optical. And that's really where we come in. We're a global expert in photonics and optical communication.
The market is forward-looking. They understood the copper to optical vibe for a few months, if not years, and your shares have shown that. Yeah. But what's interesting is Lumentum CEO was speaking at an event yesterday, Michael, and he was talking about even with scaling of their supply, they're still way behind. They're falling further behind where demand is. Is that something similar for you as well?
Well, demand, there's no doubt, demand is incredibly strong, and that is both in the near term and in the long term. I mean, the forecasts that we're seeing from our customers, not just Nvidia, but large hyperscalers, cloud service providers, are just exceptionally strong. And so what we are doing about that is we are rapidly expanding our capacity. I mean, we are building capacity as fast as we can.
What does that look like? Yeah, what sort of supply chain do you need?
Say, just as one example, Ed, you asked about the lasers. Let's take the lasers.
Right. We all want to talk about lasers.
So if you look at the lasers, we're doubling our capacity this year, right? So we're coming out with twice as much indium phosphide. That's the key material underneath the lasers, but twice as much indium phosphide production. So we are ramping our capacity as fast as possible. Right. But back to, as we see more and more of the data center convert from electrical to optical, you've got kind of two big secular growth trends underneath us. And number one, the data center growth, but number two, this conversion of electrical to optical. And so that just generates an incredible amount of demand. So we're trying to stay ahead of that. We're ramping capacity. This Nvidia partnership is part of that. That investment that they made into Coherent will help us ramp capacity faster and make sure that we've got the right capacity.
So ramp capacity where, right? We had the co-founders of Mesh on the show recently, SpaceX alum who did lasers at SpaceX. Yeah. And they came to market with a very simple argument. Output of these systems at scale is done in China. There isn't a facility in the United States. There isn't the capacity here. Is that part of your game plan, or you dispute that?
Absolutely. Lasers, some of the key technology that we're developing and ramping is here in the U.S., right? So we have a long history of U.S. manufacturing. We were founded as a U.S. manufacturing company. We've got over 20 manufacturing sites across 13 different states. But one of the key technologies that we're ramping on behalf of Nvidia and other customers is that laser technology. Right. That's happening in Sherman, Texas, right? And that's a great facility. We've supported customers out of that facility for years, but that's where we're going to be, part of where we're going to be doubling capacity.
What do you need from a raw material perspective? What is it that makes U.S. manufacturing ever more capable? I'm sure you're discussing this with the government all the time.
Yeah. So one of the key inputs is it's the indium phosphide substrates themselves, and so we have a very diversified supply chain. We've, just like Nvidia is securing capacity rights to our capacity, we're doing the same thing with our suppliers. So we're making sure that we've got all the key input capacity or input supply secured. But look, we believe that these key optical technologies like lasers, we absolutely want to see that manufactured in the U.S. Now, we have other sites as well. We're a global company, and so we are ramping at multiple sites, but that's one of our key facilities is Sherman, Texas.